My name is George Abusamra, and today we'll be talking about what you need to know to protect your corporate data with the various Microsoft security products. All right, so during today's session, we'll be talking about data security in your Microsoft 365 tenant. To start, I'll be providing you some challenges that organizations face today with protecting their digital data. Then we'll talk about how you can protect your cloud data. We'll then go through a quick demo of some of the protection mechanisms. And finally, we'll go through a Q&A session to answer any questions that you might have. We'll also be monitoring the chat window for any questions that pop up throughout the presentation. And if we don't have time to answer them at the end of this presentation, we will definitely get back to you via email as well. So let's get started. Challenges organizations face with data security. Now, one of the challenges is protecting information in a mobile world. Now more so during COVID, which enabled a mobile workforce as well. Now, on average, there's a 50% growth in data volume year over year. And the data is there whether we like it or not. We just have to be able to protect what needs to be protected. Examples of some data that organizations might want to protect could be related to human resource information, like employee information, finance, maybe it's customer credit card information, your own intellectual property, for example, a food recipe, any type of personable identifiable information as well, so on and so forth. You have to first identify what you have in order to put the proper protection in place. What are you trying to protect? Second, storing sensitive information in the cloud. Technically, storing sensitive information in the cloud isn't really a bad thing, but being unable to protect it is. There's been over 6 billion records exposed in the last year alone due to unprotected sensitive information. And there's an average of around 6 months between infiltration of your data and the detection. So you might not even know that someone has stolen your data until it's too late. Another challenge is users accidentally sending sensitive information to the wrong person. One survey conducted by Microsoft states that about 58% of users have accidentally sent sensitive information to the wrong person. Now, can you imagine if someone sends your social insurance number alongside with other sensitive information to the wrong person? Regardless if these actions were malicious or not, this could lead to identity theft and other types of fraud. Someone could receive your government benefits, tax refunds, or bank credits, for example, and a simple mistake like that could cause damage to someone's life. And last but not least, backups, specifically unsecure backup sets. Now, organizations need to understand the importance of having backups, and not just backups, but having secure backups. Most importantly, to be able to have some sort of multi-factor authentication or MFA with accessing these backups as well. Now, with the increase in cybercrime, especially around ransomware, backups could be an organization's last lifeline. Having backups alone isn't enough either. You have to have a disaster recovery plan to ensure that your business can come back online in a timely fashion. This means that you have to run a full IT system shutdown at least once a year and test out your disaster recovery plan to make sure that it meets your business requirements and that you can come back online as quickly as possible and resume business. So these are some of the challenges that organizations face with data security today. And through the various Microsoft tools, we're going to talk about how we can mitigate these threats or these risks. All right, so how can we protect our data, mainly in the cloud, and mainly also sensitive information from being leaked? First of which is something called data loss prevention, or DLP for short. Now with DLP, we have the ability to control how sensitive information is shared via email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, so on and so forth. So we can prevent the intentional or accidental exposure of sensitive information to unwanted parties. You can think of this as drawing a fence around your sensitive data stored in the Microsoft 365 cloud. And again, examples of sensitive information that you want to prevent from leaking outside could include financial data, PII information, health information. It just depends on what business you have, what sector you work out of. So whatever sensitive information you have, there will be some sort of protection that we can apply against it. And the DLP engine can block sensitive emails and documents from going out of the organization. So you can entirely block it, whether it was done intentionally or by accident. You can have it request approval, maybe by someone, on the compliance team, maybe a compliance officer, by the user's manager. They'll get that request. They can approve or decline it depending on the contents. You can have it apply automatic encryption. So still allow the user to send the sensitive information, but at least it has to be encrypted, or just to inform the users of the sensitive information that is within the content of the email or document. So we have the ability to control how we want these DLP policies to be put in place and what level of protection that we want to apply against it. Another feature we have is Office 365 message encryption. Now, if sensitive information is being relayed via email, you want to make sure that the contents are protected from being printed, forwarded, or copied by unauthorized people. And to do that, we can configure transport rules in Office 365 to automatically encrypt emails based on the contents of the email or based on certain keywords. And we can also have the user manually encrypt the email directly out of their Outlook client. Now, it starts off by an Office 365 user sending an email. That email would be scanned by the transport rule for any content that would automatically encrypt it. Now, it could be a keyword such as the word confidential in the subject line, for example, or it could be sensitive content in the email or attachment itself, like a credit card number. So if someone is sending out emails with credit card information or health information or any type of personal information, even if this personal information relates to your business only, then there will be one way or another for us to be able to encrypt that email and have that sent out to the end user. Now, once it reaches that transport rule, it would encrypt the email, or you can have the end user themselves just click on the encrypt button out of their Outlook client, and then it would be encrypted throughout the email conversation. Now, once the email gets encrypted, it remains in ciphertext while it's in transit in order to protect it from being compromised if it's ever intercepted. And now, depending on where the customers or the recipient's mail server reside, they would have a different experience. So if you receive a protected email message or an encrypted email message sent to your Office 365 account, and you're using Outlook 2016 and above or Outlook on the web, the message should open up just like any other message. You can see the email, you can see the content, the attachment without any issues. And if you're using a third-party service like Google Mail, for example, the user would have to either authenticate using their Google username and password or get a one-time passcode to their email. This is just to ensure that the user that is opening the protected message is the real user that knows their credentials. Once the message is received by the recipient, the message is transformed back into readable plain text for the user to be able to read it. Now, everything that I'm going through here will be part of the demo later on today, so I can show you exactly how it works and exactly how the end user experience looks like. Another way we can control how data is protected is with conditional access app control. So this gives us the ability to control what device we can download, access, and upload data within our environment. For example, I want to block downloads of sensitive data from a non-domain joined device or hybrid AAD joined device or a device that is not Intune enrolled or part of our mobile device management solution. So if the engine detects sensitive information, like a credit card number, for example, it would only allow me to access it if I'm using a corporate issued device that is domain joined or compliant with my mobile device management solution. So if a user is using their personal device and they try to download sensitive information, it would be blocked. They will not be able to download it. So in this example that we have here on the screen, we have SharePoint. And when a user signs into SharePoint, they have to abide by whatever conditional access policies that you have in place. That is the very first step. So for example, if you have a policy that states you're only allowed to sign in from Canada and the States, then any sign-ins happening from outside of Canada and the States will be rejected by the conditional access policy. Once those conditions are met, you are signing in from Canada or the States, then it takes you to the next stage that Cloud App Security would take control. So if a user then wants to download a file from SharePoint after authenticating from within Canada and the States, for example, and they want to download sensitive information, it checks whether your device is domain joined or Azure AD joined or compliant with your MDM solution. If it checks out, then the user is allowed to download documents with sensitive information, otherwise it would be blocked. And again, we will see how this works in a live demo environment. And last but not least, Microsoft Information Protection, or MIP for short. Now with MIP, we have the ability to identify, label, protect, monitor, and revoke access to documents in our environment. First, you have to know your data. You have to figure out what sensitive information types you want to protect. It could be HR, it could be financial data, health data, whatever it is, even if it relates to your business only, at least we'll have to identify that. Maybe you guys have some sort of top secret project that no one should know about except a small group of people, then a label can be identified for that top secret project. Let's just call it Falcon X in this case. So once you figure out what sensitive information you're looking to protect, you can then create the labels for them. The label would be tagged as, general, personal, finance, HR, health, and Falcon X, just depending on the data that your organization uses. Then you want to protect that data and encrypt the documents or the email. You want to then apply the labels that you created to those documents. So if a document contains financial data, then only the finance team should have access to it. If it's labeled as finance, no one outside the finance team would be able to access the document, regardless of how the document was taken, whether it was sent via email, someone hacked you and stole the information, it was given off a USB. Regardless of how the person received that file, it would be locked and only accessible to the people that are part of the finance team. So MIP, or information protection, in conjunction with DLP policies, you can prevent data loss from your environment, and whether it's accidental or intentional. The users receiving the encrypted documents won't be able to open them unless authorized. And again, whether they were hacked or stolen, whether they were sent in an email, the encryption blocks everyone outside of the authorized users from opening the documents. And finally, you want to govern your data with the retention policies to retain, store, and delete data according to your organization's requirements. All right, let's move on to the live demo. We are going to start off with DLP policies. All right, so with DLP, I'm just going to create a new message here. This user is one of our demo tenants. Her name's Adele Vance. We're going to send an email to myself at ProServeIT.com. I'm going to add a subject line here that states, this is my financial information. All right. Now I'm going to type in here a fake credit card number with a fake expiry date. All right. Now you can see here, there's a policy tip at the very top of the email. It says your email message conflicts with a policy in your organization. Learn more. So it detected that this was a credit card number based on multiple checks. The first check is the checksum of this number. Is this number a valid credit card number, or is this just 16 random digits right next to each other? So the engine is smart enough to identify whether this is a real number or it's a fake number or an actual Visa number or a credit card number. Just any company can have 16 digits in a row. It could be a ticket number. It could be just something internal to your organization. So the engine has to be smart enough to be able to detect that. On top of this number, it requires some sort of keywords, depending on the information that we are trying to protect, in this case, financial. And the keyword in this case is EXP, or expiry, with the 824 right after it. So it needs somewhat of some sort of keywords within 300 characters of proximity close to this one in order for it to identify whether this is a real financial information or fake financial information. All right, so if I click learn more here, it tells us that this message appears to contain following sensitive information: credit card number. If this was a false positive, you can just directly report this to your admins and then they can take a look at it. If you're allowed to send this email, then all you have to do is just click send and this email would be sent. Now, as part of this policy for this tenant, I've only have it to show a policy tip to show the users that, hey, there are sensitive information here, but you can also apply that policy to say when you click send, the email is rejected and you're going to get a response back and the admins are going to get a response back saying that this message contains the following sensitive information, credit card number, and then this is the email that was sent. So that the administrators identify that, hey, this person is sending out emails. If it was a hacker that was actually doing this, at least your administrators are notified. So this is the way the DLP policy works. It identifies sensitive information and it either blocks you from sending it or allows you from sending it based on the policies that we set up. The next part of the demo is encryption, email encryption. So if I was to send an encrypted email, let's just say to my Gmail account in this case, just to show you the difference between sending it to an Office 365 account or sending it to a third-party email. Let's just say I have a rule in place that says if there's a word confidential in the subject line, automatically encrypt the email. Right? Hi, George. This email will be encrypted. All right, apologies for the spelling mistakes. There you go. So once I send this message, just because it has the word confidential, even though it doesn't have any sensitive information, it will encrypt this email. You can create another policy that says if it does detect sensitive information, like a credit card number, automatically encrypt it as well. So just depending on what we're trying to do in this case, what we're trying to protect, we can have it do both. But just in this case, I want it to be encrypted just because of the word confidential. So let's take this out. Let's send this email to my Gmail account. Give it a couple of seconds to get it in. All right, I just got it. And this is what the email looks like. Now, in your email, if if you're using Office 365 as your email platform, then you're not going to see it like this. You're going to see the proper email, the regular text, whatever is part of the message. But because I'm sending this externally, this is the way that we receive those emails. Now, if I want to read this email from Adele, I'm just going to have to click read this message. And it's going to ask me to sign into my Google account because if it is a hacker that hacked into their Google account, maybe they gain access to that session, maybe they gain access to the computer, and they don't have their password. So they can just easily have them sign in using a Google account or use a one-time passcode. So then my email account will receive a one-time passcode. I'll just copy paste that into the page here, and then it'll allow me in. For the sake of this demo, let's just click sign in with Google. Since my session's already signed in here, it's not going to request me to sign in. And there it is. Hi, George, this email will be encrypted. And the encryption is do not forward. So if I want to forward this email to anybody or print it, I won't be able to. And if I want to also copy, I can't even select the contents here to right click and select copy. So I can select it up here, but I can't select it down here. It's not letting me. So that way you won't be able to just copy paste emails or copy paste the content of the email. So that is how DLP works. Another thing that we can do is through Cloud App Security is to block sensitive information from being downloaded. Now let's take this piece of information, sample data. This data contains, or this file contains credit card numbers, social insurance numbers, a lot of sensitive information that we don't want leaked out of our environment, especially not downloaded onto their device. So you can see here it contains a lot of random social insurance numbers or social security numbers, email addresses, phone numbers, credit card numbers, expiry dates, a lot of sensitive information here. So I've created a policy in Cloud App Security that states if anybody wants to download a file from Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams that has sensitive information, I want it blocked. And now you can see here, it says download blocked. This file contains credit card information and cannot be downloaded. Reach out to your IT team for further assistance if required. And this message can be customized to our liking. The same thing goes to SharePoint. Now, if I want to download this my info text file, it pretty much doesn't have anything in there. Just download, and you can see here that it downloaded the file. And I can open it. All it says is my name and no info here. But if I want to download this sensitive data file, it's going to tell me download blocked because I have a policy that states SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, it has financial information, do not allow the users to download it to their device. And on top of that, I've created another policy within DLP that doesn't allow me to share sensitive information externally. So you can, if you notice this little red circle here, it says contains sensitive information, some commands aren't available. So if I share this file externally with specific people, and I type my ProServeIT account, I'm immediately going to be greeted with this red message, and I cannot even click send to send it out. If I click on the view policy tip, it's going to tell me that this contains social security numbers and it's blocked according to our organization's policy. But if I share this with someone internal or specific people, I'll send this to Alex Wilbur, who's part of the company. You can see that I can send it and it won't stop me from sending it. Even if the link was shared, so I can copy the link and share it with people externally, they will be blocked. They won't be able to access this file. All right, and part of our final demo at the moment is Microsoft Information Protection. Encrypting documents.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, George. Before we move on to the next part, there is a question related to the email, so that's why
Mm.
I think that is good moment. Ken is asking, the naming convention of the sending emails might not pass the sniff test. For our users who are trained to be suspicious of email address which you do not match the sender's name, any recommendation?
So the naming convention of the sending email might not pass the sniff test for our users who are trained to be suspicious of email addresses which do not match the sender's name. So this is not part of the email protection. So sending sensitive emails or sending sensitive information via email and applying that transport rule to encrypt those emails, this is a completely different thing. Just 1 second there. So there is part of Office 365 Plan 2, but Defender for Office 365 Plan 1 and Plan 2, a phishing protection or spoofing protection as well, which adds an extra layer of protection across your emails, your user base. And if someone creates a kenlee@gmail.com, for example, it's able to identify whether this email originated from yourself or from an external party not related to yourself. So we can add that level of protection. It comes with your Defender for Office 365 license, and you're able to apply this to, I believe now it's up to 200, if not more users. It used to be 60, but they increased that. And you can apply it mainly to your C-suite level folks, to the finance department, whoever is mostly spoofed within your organization, and then they can add that extra layer of protection there. But for proper spoofing to take effect is you'd have to configure your SPF, your DKIM, and your DMARC records to make sure that all the spoofing emails are rejected by the receiving mail server. But there are other ways that we can protect. It might not be the most ideal scenario, but just to reduce the noise from coming in.
Thank you, George.
Problem. All right, the final demo here is Microsoft Information Protection. So you can see here, we talked earlier about creating labels, whether it's finance, HR, health, Falcon X, Project Falcon X. So in this case, I have a personal label, public label, general, confidential, and highly confidential. And I have sub-labels within confidential and highly confidential. So you can think of this as, you might want to include, instead of B secret in this case, call it HR. Instead of A secret, call it financial. M secret, S secret, Project Falcon X. It really depends on your organization. So by default, all documents, I want them to be labeled as general. They are business data that are intended for business consumption. If you're using, you just want to write a personal document, you can change that to a personal, and then this becomes a personal document that you guys can use for your own personal use. Otherwise, if it does contain sensitive information, let's just say it's B secret, I can have it automatically apply a header or a footer or, some sort of content marking, maybe something that says confidential in the middle of the screen, something that says draft, and have that applied to the document itself. In this case, I'm only applying a header. So if this is a personal, or if this is a B secret doc, right, meaning only people that are part of the B secret group, or maybe just for ease of this demo, let's just call this the finance group, are able to open this document. So if I was to save this document right now, let me save this to my webinar folder, click save. All right. This is the document that I just saved. You can view the permission, print, view, edit, copy, paste, do whatever we want. But this is only tied to the organization that has this level of protection that are part of B secret group. If I was to share this file, now I'm going to take this file, I'm going to put it on my other machine here, and I'm going to open it. I'm going to be greeted with a message. First of all, it's going to request me to sign in, even though I'm already signed in with my ProServeIT account. I'm just going to click close. And you can see here that I'm going to be greeted with another message that says, you are not signed into Office with an account that has permission to open this document. You may sign into a new account to Office that has permission or request permission from the content owner. So if that's the case, I can sign in, or you can see here I'm signed in with my ProServeIT account, meaning I do not have access to this document. So regardless of how this document was shared with me, whether it was stolen from your organization, downloaded, hacked, sent via USPs, sent via email, regardless of the way the person received it, they will not be able to open it unless they are part of the finance group or they have some sort of permission within the finance group against this label. And this also works via email. So if I want to send this email to myself, test AIP, I am going to attach that B secret document. And I also have the same labels via email. So if I want the recipient to be part of the B secret email, then if I send this externally, I'm not part of B secret. I will not be able to open up the email contents. I will not see this here, nor the attachment. All right. If this is considered general, then I will be able to see the contents, but the encryption on the document travels with the email itself. I will be able to see this here, but not attachment. All right, let's just send this real quick. All right, give it a couple of seconds so I can receive the email here. Oh. All right, I just got it. And this is what the message is going to look like. Now, because it is encrypted, I need to click on read the message in order to see the contents. So as soon as I click read the message, I'm going to be able to sign in. I'm going to see the email, but I'm not going to be able to see the actual attachment that is tied to that email. All right, so that is the behavior of how that works. Let's go back to our final slides here. So there is a Microsoft-funded security workshop called Threat Protection Workshop, which provides us the ability to detect threats in your cloud environment. And part of this workshop, we would deploy the various tools from the Microsoft security stack and have it to capture logs for a few weeks in order to identify any threats in your environment related to your email, your data, and your identities. So reach out to us at cloud@proserveit.com to find out whether you qualify for this free Microsoft workshop. In addition to that, ProServeIT has an offering that is built around Azure Sentinel, and it's called Alarm Guardian. And you can think about this offering as getting security for your home, but instead of protecting your home, we'll be protecting your IT environment and IT assets, such as your Office 365 environment, your email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Azure, your servers, workstations, firewalls, applications, so on and so forth. So by signing up for Alarm Guardian, ProServeIT would be able to keep an eye on your environment from security risks 24/7. There are different tiers that you can choose from based on your organization. And we can either deploy it for your organization to manage yourselves, or we can manage security on your behalf with our Security Operations Center as a managed services offering. So if you're interested in exploring the software further, reach out to us at cloud@proserveit.com and mention this data protection webinar to get more information about our Azure Sentinel deployment. This is a high-level deployment of Azure Sentinel, what we would go through with you. First thing is go through a scoping call to identify what data sources you want to monitor, Office 365, Azure, servers, firewalls, so on and so forth. And we'll walk you through the pricing estimates of what that would cost. We would then set up your Azure subscription, set up the workspace and Sentinel on top of that, connect your various data sources to ingest the logs into Sentinel so that we can have as much information as possible to work with. We will create the rules to detect threats in your environment. Maybe a rule could be if someone signs in from outside your home country to alert us. We will create workbooks for visual representation of the threats, mainly for the executives to be able to see as well as playbooks to automate security incidents. So if someone was actually compromised, we can have a playbook run within 3 to 5 seconds to reset your password, block your account, revoke your access before any damage is done by the hacker. So these are some of the tasks that we would go through if we decide to go through a Sentinel deployment. And depending on how complex your environment is, we have multiple packages that could fit your need. So reach out to us at cloud@proserveit.com, and then we can walk you through the various packages that we have and recommend whichever one that fits your organization. And finally, our upcoming webinar is how to protect your email, how to protect your mailboxes and prevent phishing. That might be something that, Ken, you might be interested in since you posed that question today. So it's on January 19th. You can easily register for that webinar if you go to proserveit.com/events. There's all our webinars there. Just search for how to protect your mailboxes. Or if you want to go directly to the Cybersecurity Framework webinars, go to proserveit.com/cybersecurity-awareness-webinar.